In case you were wondering where Jacob is anybody even watching? Nobody's even watching. People have better things to do. I was making some tea. If people want to jump on and we can discuss stuff. It went very well. It went very well. Garth says he's watching while pushing buttons. Sempel Pang says, nearly died of cringe at that preaching, though. Where's my phone? Well, I mean the interaction with. Yeah, I started boycotting Wizards of the Coast when boycotting Wizards of the Coast when they canceled Therese Nielsen. So yeah, have not played with new sets. I considered playing with the new Foundation set. Yeah, well, we haven't drafted my cube, and it's been like 2 years now. Because like my friends' kids. Oh, it's you. My friends' kids are my friends' kids are getting to be the age where they can start playing Magic, and my friends are like, "Hey, they should start playing Magic." Yeah, well, I used to before COVID. I used to play Legacy, but I haven't played since COVID. I haven't played in a very long time. I used to prefer judging. I like judging. I like judging a lot. I used to judge the Mother's Day tournament every year. Suffer not a witch. Board game club at your church. Well, you guys certainly have the space for it. Is everybody really excited about what's his name's new book coming out? Now I'm forgetting his name. Why am I forgetting his name? You know his name. Who am I talking about? The guy with the book. No. Paul Antleitner. That's who. So, it's possible that we will get Pastor Keith back, which would be nice. I mean, I obviously agree with Father Stephen that if your Hitler, if John Calvin and Martin Luther are included in your heroes, there's got to be problems with that. But look, how do you do Reformation without doing that? There's a reason I try to kill John Calvin and Martin Luther. I see. Josiah Hamilton. Why is that name really familiar to me? Do I know you, Josiah? You're not the Josiah who's the pastor in Northern California, are you? That's the only Josiah I'm thinking of right now. I mean, I was trying to like have a conversation at the beginning. It was a lot of me talking at him, and I was trying to like, which I felt bad about, but like he didn't really get into it until the end. And Josiah is an engineer. I think, well, it was a weird situation. I'm somebody who's spent hours and hours and hours listening to him, right? Like, obviously not enough hours to actually know who R.C. Sproul is. I've heard the name, but I really didn't know who R.C. Sproul is. And he, so like, it's weird to have a conversation with someone when I have listened to lots of hours of him. He hasn't listened to anything of me. He has no idea who I am. He doesn't know where I'm coming from, right? And there was a lot of me like talking at him, and I didn't know too much. Like, okay, I could ask him the same questions. I tried to ask good questions, right? But I could ask the same questions about the things that he talks about all the time, but that would be really boring for him, right? My takeaway is that penal substitutionary atonement is still wrong and nobody yells at Father. Well, okay. So I have to say, like, it's like what he was saying to yeah, I didn't fall on my knees and repent. I think imputed justification is in no way. I mean, just look at the court analogy, right? And he did it himself. He's like, well, what would you think of a judge who didn't find someone guilty, right? And it's like, well, yeah, who let just anybody go. Well, that's not a just judge, right? If somebody's a murderer and does horrible things and you just let that person go, right? That's not justice, and he's right. At the same time, if you have a judge who condemns someone who like got a traffic ticket, and I think that was Father Stephen's point, to the same thing as you would to like off with his head, regardless. That's also um, Jason. Maybe you should marry her if you like her so much. Have you considered marrying her? Have you? Huh? Um, and like um I think I missed a spot when I shaved my head. um this is gonna bother me this entire stream. And then there's what was I saying? Yeah, Jason and Rebecca sitting in a tree. Kissing. First comes love, then comes marriage, then comes Jason with a baby carriage. You guys remember that? What were we talking about? We were talking about oh, by the way, somebody is working on our engagement present for Yon God. Yon God has cooties. So someone is working on that. Oh, and somebody who hasn't sent me a baby picture and hasn't given me permission to say anything. They had a baby girl today. And I can't say who had a baby girl today, but somebody had a baby girl today. I was not given permission to say who had a baby girl today, but somebody had a baby girl today. Mazel tov. Yes, hooray for new life. You should do that, Garth. That would be some trick for you to give birth to a baby girl. Yeah. It would be even a bigger miracle if you were to give birth to a baby girl than if you were to give birth to a baby boy. And that's already a miracle. Yep. Congratulations to somebody. Yes, the hope is to make a present for Yon God. But we've got to figure that out. Well, what was I saying? We were talking about the discussion with Pastor Keith. What was I talking about? Oh, like in terms of imputed righteousness, like I actually do believe that Paul was teaching imputed righteousness, and that's why it was kind of like okay, but that's what shows me that Paul wasn't teaching anything worthwhile. Because what do you think of a court where like this guy lets somebody else suffer for him, right? It's like that. Maybe in Roman courts that was considered a substitutionary atonement, was considered like, did Romans, here, let's ask Grok, because Grok knows everything. Grok, in which legal systems were innocent people allowed to pay for the pay for the guilty, as in imputed righteousness. Because we know Grok gets everything right. And this is deeper search, so. So Grok has decided that the correct search is substitutionary punishment in legal history. Whipping boys. I believe whipping boys are actually a myth. Yeah, some historians question if whipping boys were real. Code of Hammurabi? No mention of substitution. Proxy punishment in legal history. Proxy crimes. I mean, if there were no legal systems which practiced the abomination known as penal substitutionary atonement, I don't even know what would be okay. So this is Grok took 1 minute and 30 seconds to answer. Research suggests the English royal court during the Tudor and Stuart periods had a practice where whipping boys were punished for princes' misdeeds, akin to imputed righteousness. This practice, while documented, is debated among historians for its prevalence and legal formality, leaning toward a court custom rather than a codified law. No other major legal systems are known to formally allow innocent people to take punishment for the guilty in this manner. Like, no legal system that we know of. The concept of imputed righteousness from theology, where one party's righteousness is attributed to another, inspired this query about legal systems. We're looking for historical instances where an innocent person could take on punishment for a guilty party, similar to this theological idea. Answer. It seems likely that the closest example is found in the English royal courts during the Tudor and Stuart whipping. This practice is allowed. However, the evidence leans towards this being a court custom rather than legal system, and it's prevalent. Yeah. So, like, it's found zero investigation into other legal system. The analysis extended to other legal systems, such as a Code of Hammurabi, to check for substitutionary punishment. Detailed examination of laws, as seen in Hammurabi's code, showed a focus on direct retribution, with penalties varying by social status. Similarly, searches for substitution in Roman, Greek, or Islamic legal systems, Sharia law with qisas and dia, found no formal allowance for innocent persons to take punishment, with dia being compensation rather than substitution. Other possibilities, like trial by combat champions or sin eaters in religious contexts, were considered but found inapplicable, as they involved risk or ritual rather than legal public punishment transfer. Collective punishment in military or tribal settings was also explored, but it lacked the voluntary individual substitution implied by the query. What about involuntary penal substitution? Are there any examples? what do Christian apologists who believe in penal substitutionary atonement say? I'm asking Grok again. Yeah, I mean, well, first of all, a whipping boy is in a Christian society after Christians started doing that, but like, yeah, and apparently it is theological. It was part of Gamliel's secret club that only Paul was a member. Very funny. Oh, right. I did add a community comment thing. The main thing is stay on topic. Like, yeah. Formal legal system, yes, but in history, as with the Spanish Inquisition, you could choose to be punished by a different system. Religious systems do allow for this. Like, if there's no thing in history where this person... What happened to when I tried to open that up? Oh, that's what happened. Okay, that was dumb. Okay, whatever. Where were we? Oh, I was looking at... Happened to Grok. Okay, Grok, completed. Research suggests involuntary penal substitution, where an innocent person is forced to take punishment for the guilty, includes historical practices like the whipping boy. That's not a thing. And some slavery contexts. Though evidence for whipping boys is debated, Christian apologists support penal substitution atonement and emphasize Jesus' voluntary sacrifice, distinguishing it from involuntary historical examples, and refute cosmic child abuse criticisms by highlighting the Trinitarian relationship and divine justice. Slavery practices such as 19th century southern China, where slaves were sometimes punished instead of their masters. However, the prevalence and formality of these practices are subject to historical debate. Christian apologists who believe in penal substitutionary atonement argue that Jesus' death was a voluntary act where he willingly took the punishment for humanity's sins, satisfying divine justice. They distinguish this from involuntary substitutions like the whipping boy, emphasizing that Jesus, as part of the Trinity, was not a victim, but God himself bearing the cost, which makes no sense. Critics who label this as cosmic child abuse are countered by noting the voluntary nature of Jesus' sacrifice and the unity within the Trinity, ensuring it aligns with God's love and justice rather than abuse. Survey notes, historical. Theological analysis. Christian apologists. The investigation, when turned to Christian apologists' view, standard doctrine, as emphasizes R.C. Sproul, J.I. Packer. Yeah. They notice they're talking about J.C. Sproul, so I guess J.C. Sproul is well known. Wow, it's actually looking at a Reddit post in LDS. Okay. I did not expect Grok to include results from Reddit. Was penal atonement common theory before the Protestant Reformation? Yuck. The concept of vicarious atonement linked to PSA has roots in Judaism, seen in Isaiah 53's suffering servant. Why did I ask Grok? I made fun of people asking Grok, and now I am asking Grok, and this is my penal substitutionary atonement. Sources show mixed views on PSA in early church fathers, with some seeing hints and others denying its full development until the Reformation. The Gospel Coalition article suggests PSA existed in early church writings, though not dominantly. Cyril, Athanasius, and Jerome supporting PSA. Which Cyril is this? It's not Cyril of Alexandria, is it? Yeah, couldn't you send someone for you if the punishment was joining the Crusades or something? Yeah. R.C. Sproul was quite famous. I tease my Reform friends that he's their version of the Roman Empire meme. So you could go to debtor's prison on behalf of someone else. I mean, this is well documented. But there is a move to deny this very clear human behavior. Fraud. Long time no see. How have you been? Contrast Din and Mishpat. Does this enlighten the issue of a just judge not being merciful? Not really. Father Stephen. No church father supported PSA or had ever heard of it. Weren't there places in India where, for instance, the punishment for someone raping someone's sister was that his sister would be raped by someone from the victim's family? I know that there were tribes that have done that type of thing, but that's less of a systematic thing um, than tribal courts coming up with really stupid. Um, I could be mean and talk about why Protestant theology is bad, but answer: no, PSA was not a common theory before the Protestant Reformation. While some early church fathers, like Cyril of Alexandria and Athanasius, expressed ideas that align with PSA, such as Christ bearing God's wrath or penalty for sins, these were not the dominant or most widely accepted views. Ransom theory. And later Anselm's satisfaction theory. Christ satisfying God's honor were more prominent. Yeah, the thing, like, it doesn't appear to be that any actual I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you. Father Stephen doesn't sleep, and I'm guessing he's busy playing Marvel Heroes because, yeah. Are we going to get a Father Stephen and Jacob Destroy Stuff stream ever? What would we destroy? This is so unfair to do to Father Stephen during Holy Week. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, Holy Week. Like, hey, it is Passover. It is Passover. The problem with Protestants is that they cannot do theology because they don't have a structure that would allow that. Instead, they just read a bad translation and come to their own conclusion. Well, there are a bunch of people watching. Father Stephen is still doing his taxes. Father Stephen, you have less than 40 minutes. If you don't get it done by 12, by midnight Washington, D.C. time, it's going to be late. And yes, procrastination is a sin. And I am relying on the fact that in Los Angeles, we have an automatic extension because of the fires. I didn't do my taxes either. But he literally has less than half an hour. Although I'm guessing Father Stephen's taxes, they can't be too... Well, no, with all the book incomes and the travel. Wow. What kind of work? You're doing title research, Jason? Jacob, have you ever read the Calvin and Hobbes strip about Calvinism? There's a Calvin and Hobbes strip about Calvinism? I mean, you could say that, like, Calvin Ball is Calvinism. I don't think there are any references to Calvinism in Calvin and Hobbes, but it's been a while since I read it obsessively. Okay, so apparently this image is the best the internet can give us. Let me see if I can share this. You're not going to be able to read it. Well, I guess I could save the images. Calvin Hobbes. And then I could open it up. No, not that way. Go away. Here. Now I can make it bigger. Okay. A little smaller. So you want some water, huh? Well, I've got a big can of it here. It's up to me to decide if you get water or not. I control your fate. Your very lives are in my hands. Without me, you're as good as dead. Without me, you don't. And then it starts raining. I don't see how that's Calvinism. Father Stephen says, I owe money. They're not getting it a second early. Is that the same one that I just there? Yeah, I'm not. I only play untimed games. I don't have good reaction speed. Yep, title research as usual. Honestly, title research, like I think I've talked to you about my thesis when I was in college doing my MPA JD. We should not be having title searches. Oh, so it is a different one? Let me pull up. Okay. Let's make this big. Calvin and Hobbes. First there was nothing. Then there was Calvin. Calvin, the mighty God, creates the universe with pure will. From utter nothingness comes swirling form. Life begins where once was void. But Calvin is no kind and loving God. He's one of the old gods. He demands sacrifice. Yes, Calvin is a god of the underworld, and the puny inhabitants of earth displease him. The great Calvin ignores their pleas for mercy, and the doomed writhe in agony. Have you seen how absorbed Calvin is with those Tinker Toys? He's creating whole worlds over there. I'll bet he grows up to be an architect. I mean, that's a pretty harsh way of thinking of Calvinism. I'm not saying that's not true, but it's a pretty harsh way of viewing Calvinism. Really? I don't know what Marvel well enough to know if Father Stephen was doing a good job or not. What deck did I play in Legacy? Well, my favorites. I had a homebrew black white, black black and blue Helmline deck with some tricks. I sometimes play Dredge. We actually own vintage Dredge. We have 4 bazaars. Um, the what else did I play? I sometimes played. I have elves. I played. I have 4 um, cradles. Not that one. Why is this not showing up? There it is. Uh, Goblins. Um, just red burn. Um, what's the name of that?
Hello.
Hello. Mono red. Yeah, I have a lot of sweet reserved list cards. I do. Um, I uh, I had a Godlin Welder deck. Um, I really like playing with chalices. Um, uh, what's the name of the deck where you play with it's 3 or more what you call it? I don't remember. Jason,
What's up?
yo,
Hey, I probably can't stay long because I gotta work, but I didn't know Andrew hopped on.
Andrew hopped on.
That's awesome.
How have you been doing, Jason? Long time no see.
Yeah, it's been a while. I've been doing good. It's just crazy busy. I'm permanently part of that band now. So we had like the shows the past 2 weekends. So between that and travel, it's just been like, and work, it's been like nonstop, not sleeping much. I'm pretty sure I have pneumonia now. We're not 100% positive, but I got sick and now like my lungs are extremely sore when I breathe.
Okay, did
I
you go
don't
to the doctor?
know. We went to the clinic today because it hadn't gotten better. It's been like a week. And then I woke up today and I was just like I was in a lot of pain. And so I went to a clinic, but it was gonna be like at least $500 just for them to check me out. And so we left and
Hold
like
on,
we
you
just
don't have insurance?
no, no.
Why don't you have insurance?
I don't know. I've never had it. I've hardly ever gone to the doctor in my life. That's just how I grew up. And then every time I have gone in Tennessee, they're usually like, "Oh, you don't have insurance? Well, it was going to be $3,000. Well, since you don't have insurance, you only pay like 200." So I was like, "Okay, then why would I get insurance if it's going to be so much cheaper?"
Jason, get insurance.
This is what like Obama
Hey,
fought for, you know? He
I'll have
fought for our
insurance.
rights.
Yeah, I'll have insurance once I get married, because then I'll just get on Rebecca's. She'll take care of me.
So when
That's
are you getting married? Huh? Huh? Huh?
August in August.
Where? What? Oh, well, you gotta give me like dates and stuff.
I yeah, we sent out to save the dates, but they're like getting to people very sporadically. I'm kind of worried people won't get
How'd
them.
you send out save the dates?
Just in the
You don't.
mail.
You don't have my address, do you?
Yeah, I think yeah.
Okay.
I don't know how. Yeah, because I've sent you stuff on Amazon. So
Yeah, you have. Okay, so I have to look in the mail and like actually open it. I don't do that very often.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah,
Maybe that's why it hasn't got there.
that's probably why it hasn't got here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, just as long as. Oh, yeah. Well, somebody just sent me this cartoon, which I actually have um, on my Discord server. I didn't pull it up with Pastor Keith, but I could have. So it's four panels. First panel is this boy looking out into the stars, and the second one is Jesus, and the third one is Jesus talking to the boy with the star background. He says,
Rough.
"Just think, before I made those stars, I already hated you."
That's so rough. Ouch.
I mean, what can I say?
So what's new
Noah,
with you? What have you been up to?
trying to graduate, trying to do my classwork, um, trying not. Andrew, stop pressing that button. the, this is one of the things.
I didn't know what it did. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's okay, but like, um, oh, that's another thing I needed to announce. Somebody told me that when they came on my StreamYard convinced them to like pay $35 a week
Whoa,
for like a subscription.
that's
Like
weird.
if that's something that they're tricking people into, like I am already paying for StreamYard. If they're making you, please make it like you should not have put any credit card information into StreamYard. Yeah. So like if that's a real thing, like, and this
Yeah.
wasn't like some boomer, it was somebody who knows their internet, like their computers very well. And I'm sorry, like, but like if StreamYard is doing that, I'm not gonna be happy.
Yeah, that's pretty crummy.
Yeah.
So what do you have to do to graduate?
So my certificate in substance abuse, I have 3 classes, which um I just have to pass these classes, which means I have to do the homework, which I haven't been doing because I'm stupid. Um and then for my master's degree, so this is week 8 of 11, and I'm still getting A's in all of my classes. And if I pass all of my classes this quarter, and then I have 2 classes next quarter, and I pass all of my classes next quarter, then all I have to do is my 2 quarters of internships, which is 500 hours, and then I'll graduate, and then I can become an ACSW, and then I have to do 3,000 hours, and I'll become an LCSW, and then I will be free.
Free to
Well,
do what?
hopefully, no. Actually, I'll be very expensive, but I'll be free to charge people lots of money.
That's good. That's good. That sounds like a lot of work.
I should have been done by now.
Good.
It pissed, like, a lot of the work is just busy work and dumb, and I have this emotional incapacity to actually do stupid shit.
I understand. Yeah. So is it like is it a lot of I remember when you started it, you said a lot of it was just kind of like woke stuff that you completely disagreed with, but you knew you had to
Yeah,
write it down just to pass it.
most of the stuff right now isn't woke, which is what makes it easier. Like I have one more class, which is probably going to be woke bullshit.
Mhm.
Like the homework assignments I have the hardest time doing are the woke bullshit ones.
Yeah.
And it does kind of bother me that like the assignments have zero connection with actually knowing what you're doing. Like one of my professors assigned reading Man's in Search of Meaning by Viktor Frankl, which
Okay.
I did. I'm like, yay, but like, and I think logotherapy is great and stuff. Yeah, like it's just a lot of, it's feminized teaching. It's go through the hoops and do the things, and if you do the things enough times, then they'll you'll go get ahead. Like
You'll have learned your lesson.
what?
You'll have learned your lesson, right?
A kind of, without any actual examinations and actual making sure that you actually know anything, which pisses me off a lot. Jacob, how do I recover from my substance abuse of internet content? Well, first of all, I have to say that the it, internet addiction, I think the ICD has started talking about possibly computer addiction or sexual addiction, one of the two, but neither one is a DSM diagnosis. And technically, like something you can't have physical withdrawal symptoms of can't really be considered a true addiction, but it can be a coping mechanism. And we all have coping mechanisms. Coping mechanisms are better than not having coping mechanisms. By Andrew, who didn't say anything. But I mean, there are healthy and unhealthy coping mechanisms. And frankly, any coping mechanism can become unhealthy, especially as if it becomes a problem in your life. And the best way to he went to bed. Andrew, are you in Indiana or are you still in Los Angeles? Which reminds me, we're supposed to set up a time to go to see the Dead Sea Scrolls again. So if you have a coping mechanism that's unhealthy, you can try substituting it for healthier coping mechanisms, or you can try gamifying it to make yourself cope better, or you can try reducing various types of stress and finding ways of making yourself need to cope less. But yes. And what about seething mechanisms?
What is that?
It's a joke. Cope
Oh.
and seethe. You've heard of cope and seethe?
No.
On the internet, lots of people tell people to cope. Like you've heard of cope on the internet? Yeah. Seethe, yeah. Kind of half joking, but I've always found the phenomenon of being chronically online interesting. Yeah. Are we sure that nobody gets the shakes when the internet goes out? Well, you have to understand, like, it's not just the shakes. Like, an alcoholic can actually die during detox. Like, you can literally die from detox, because what happens with addictive substances is your physiology tries to adapt, and so your body becomes like your body becomes used to having a certain operating mode, And when you stop that, which is part of the thing with Narcan, so when you hit someone with Narcan, the thing with Narcan is it binds to the opium receptors, and so the person, like, the opiates no longer affect them, right? So they it's like they're going through instant withdrawal, so they may wake up in absolute agony, which is better than not waking up at all. But yeah, can be quite painful to get Narcan. Get Narcan when you're a opiate addict.
I don't even know what any of that is.
Narcan, it's
Nope.
I have 2 doses of it right over there. It's a emergency medication you can give to somebody who's overdosing from opiates, and they won't die.
Why do you have 2 cans?
I have 2 doses.
Oh, two. Why do you have?
What?
Was it? Is that okay to ask why you have that, or is that personal?
No, you can ask me why I have it.
Okay.
Because
Okay.
like part of my substance abuse thing, I got trained how to use it, and I have it
Okay.
in case somebody needs it. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't carry it around with me, and I don't know anybody who uses opiates, but if I ever do encounter someone overdosing in my apartment, I mean, I guess maybe I should take it with me if I ever go any place I expect people to be overdosing on opiates.
Like my
Not
wedding.
that I don't know about a wedding.
I'm just.
How much is Narcan? It can't be that expensive. It's wow. So I have like $50 of Narcan on me.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I had in college. I had a lot of friends that were on opiates. That was not fun.
Did they die?
No. I had 2 friends OD, but neither of them died. But I don't know if it was the opiate that they OD'd on. They both OD'd on Xanax. I don't know what that classifies as, but
Can
so
you
I know.
die from a Xanax OD?
Well, they didn't die, but one of them almost did. He got pretty close, but he basically took an entire bottle.
Yeah, that happens. Basically, people are attempt suicide that way.
Yeah, it was just even like before, like besides them ODing on it, it was just they were just not nice people when they were on it. Like I remember I had one friend and when he started taking it, he just started just like I think that's one of maybe the side effects too, but he just started stealing from like friends and stuff too. And so
I'm just checking to see if it's possible to die from Xanax overdose. Apparently, it is in very high doses or combined with other substances.
yep, yep, yep. Nope, I never liked opiates. I mean, I've had them. I've had painkillers before. I've had hydrocodone and stuff, and it always makes me feel sick.
Yeah, Xanax is a benzodiazepine, so
Gotcha.
it's not an opioid.
Yeah. Is that like that's kind of like what I mean, Jordan Peterson was addicted to benzos, right?
Correct. Yeah,
Yeah.
Xanax. Yeah.
Okay.
Also, the withdrawals from Xanax are severe.
There you have it.
How's
Wow.
Colorado?
Oh man, it's great. I just wish I could be here more. I just had to just been having to travel so much, and then it seems like every time we get back here, I maybe get a month where I'm here, and it's like I just get into a routine, and then I gotta leave again, and so that's frustrating. That's
for
really
the
frustrating.
band.
No, last time I went, so I just went to Tennessee last month because I needed to go back and fix my RV because my sister Natalie's supposed to live out of it this summer to save rent. She lives in Oregon. So I
Mm.
had to go fix it because it's kind of in shambles. And so I went back to fix that, and then this next time I have to go back to Tennessee at the beginning of May for work because I need to go run the office and everything because my dad's going to be out of town. So my parents asked me to come do that. So I got to go back then. And then in June, I have to go to my cousin's wedding. And then July is band stuff. We got a tour in July out to Illinois, I think, and somewhere around there. I don't know. So
Where's the
it's
wedding
in,
gonna be?
it's in Colorado. So
Okay.
we wanted to not travel at all. We were hoping to just like hunker down and be able to spend time with the community and just spend time with each other and not travel and just take it easy before the wedding. But it's like every single month we're having to go again until then. But I don't know. It is what it is.
Are you gonna have an Orthodox wedding?
Yeah. Yeah, that's the plan. Yeah.
So are you like a catechumen now?
I am. Yeah. Yeah.
You're a catechumen. Wow.
Yep. Doing
You're
the
gonna be
thing.
Eastern Orthodox.
Yep. Yep.
Do your parents
Yep.
know you're not a Christian and you're going to hell?
Yeah, yeah, to say as much. Yeah, we kind of had to talk about that. My mom's not upset about it, but yeah, I could tell it bothered my dad quite a bit. So yeah, that wasn't too fun. But
Your dad
uh,
doesn't like it.
I he would say he doesn't understand it, but it was a little kind of a little more obvious that he didn't like it either. But and I don't know necessarily exactly how my mom feels. She grew up Catholic and everything was very rigid and very legalistic. And so she's very against that. And so they're very non-denom Protestant.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I'm fine with that. But yeah, so I don't. Yeah, he would say he doesn't understand it, but I mean, it was kind of clear that he didn't like it either. So I don't know.
What do your sisters think?
They don't care. No, none
You
of them.
don't care what your sisters think?
No, no, I care. I mean, I would care a little bit. I mean,
Yeah.
no, but they don't care. It doesn't bother them at all.
Okay.
Yeah, and Natalie, my youngest sister, I don't know where she's even at spiritually right at the moment. I know she had a Jewish friend. She was actually going to the synagogue and looking at that for a little bit, but I don't think she really decided any of that yet. So I
Yeah,
don't
I'm
know.
guessing it's not an Orthodox synagogue.
Probably not. I guess probably not. I don't know.
Hmm.
But she said, I guess when you do Jewish people get baptized and they get baptized naked or something?
Yeah.
Okay, that's intense. I'm glad I'm not doing that. I don't want to get
Well,
baptized
I
naked.
mean, it's not in public.
Oh, it isn't? Oh, okay. Well, then maybe
No,
I'll do it.
it's not in public.
Okay, that's better.
Um, although, I mean, I guess for the men, the rabbinic court
Mm.
actually witnesses it. So, but yeah, they also have to witness the circumcision. So,
Yeah, sounds like a
yeah, the
mess.
circumcision's a bigger thing than the baptism.
Yeah, that sounds. How do they do that? Because they don't do that in a hospital, I wouldn't imagine, right?
Actually, if you need a real circumcision, if you actually still have a foreskin, then they do. Oftentimes, I mean, they will have a urologist do it, and I don't think it has to be done in a hospital, but they for adults, usually it's a urologist who does it if there's an actual foreskin. But if it's just a ritual bloodletting, then they. So you know those pinpricks they use for people who need to like test their blood for diabetes.
Mm-hmm.
They use one of those.
Oh.
Yeah, it's from what I hear, it's very painless. Well, pretty
Oh,
painless. Yeah, but yeah, they do a drop of blood.
okay.
I'm sure half of the thing were like, "What?"
So have you ever been to Colorado?
I've been to Colorado. I drove through it to visit Pastor Tanner.
Oh, okay, yeah, yeah. You told me about him. Said I should visit him or something. Is he in the Springs?
He is. Where is Pastor Tanner? Pastor Tanner, Colorado. He is Leadville.
Leadville. Okay, that's where my cousin lives actually. I've been over there once. Yeah.
Pastor Tanner
Leadville
is a good guy. Yeah.
Leadville is a pricey town. It's super small. It's like a really old, kind of like mining town.
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, so Pastor Tanner works in the mine there.
What? No
Yeah.
way. That's cool.
Yep.
I wonder if he could get me some some gold tailings or something, and I could pan through those on my own.
There's like a mining museum in Leadville. There's actually a synagogue. I went to the synagogue museum. There's no like
What?
active congregation there, but
Whoa,
there used to be many years ago. They
that's
they
cool.
actually they had a Reform synagogue, and then it split into a Reform synagogue and an Orthodox synagogue, and then like the it ended up like pretty much dying out.
Gotcha. Gotcha. So
So
what is he a pastor of? Like, is it just Protestant church, non-denominational or something?
Uh, Reformed Baptist,
Oh, okay.
non-denom. Yeah,
Okay. Gotcha.
yeah,
So
yeah.
how's
I actually
LA?
thought of asking Keith Foskey about it, but like I didn't. Like it's kind of like, well, which internet pastors do you know? Actually, next week, I'm having lunch with a Catholic priest around here.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I'm hoping to reel him into this crazy
This
people
little
thing.
corner or the Peterson sphere or whatever this is.
Whatever this is, yeah.
I don't even know anymore. Um, is uh, is he like what makes you want to do that? Does he just seem like the type of guy that would like it or something?
So I started following him on Twitter. He's got a pretty big Twitter account. And then I found out he's in Los Angeles. I'm like, cool. And he's pretty conservative. He's very socially conservative and very loud about it. But he's also um, theologically conservative, I believe. So,
Oh, gotcha. Yeah,
yep.
there's the rub. So what made you, so how did the conversation with Keith, where did that start? I hadn't even heard of him before. Did you just find him on YouTube or something and reach out?
No, so I actually, I mean, he's got a pretty big channel, which I've listened to a bunch of stuff on there. He does a lot of comedy stuff. It's funny. He's actually a very like he. If I were just picking people to like invite onto my channel, I probably would not have chosen him because he's just a really nice. Like you know who he reminds me of? He reminds me of Mitch.
Yeah.
right? So really nice. You can poke him. I don't think he responds very much, very, and that's why I was trying to be nice. You know, I try poking Mitch, but like Mitch,
Yeah. I do too.
unless you get him angry, he doesn't say much.
I don't know that I've ever really seen him that angry, honestly.
Mitch, well,
Yeah.
you've told me sometimes he screams at you over the
No,
phone.
no. I have screamed at him. He has not
Oh,
screamed at me. Yeah, it's
yeah,
been the other way around. Yeah.
I, I love Mitch, but like,
I do too.
yeah, he's too nice. And so, but what happened was, Keith. So Keith Foskey does debates, and
Okay.
they're like hyper nice debates, right?
Hmm.
Which is part of the reason they're not that entertaining. But he's really smart and generally like so. Anyway, he for his debate on whatchamacallit.
I don't
What am
know.
I saying? He was doing a debate on baptism, the method of baptism.
Okay.
He wanted to make sure that he was representing the Eastern Orthodox correctly. So he wrote on Twitter that, does anybody know someone Eastern Orthodox, like genuinely Eastern Orthodox, like somebody who's actually like, I can be like, okay, I know this is somebody who actually knows what they're talking about.
Hmm.
And um, Michael Sartori, whatchamacallit,
Messaged him?
tagged
Mhm.
me into the
Okay.
conversation because
Okay.
he was like, "Oh, Jacob knows Father Stephen DeYoung,
Hmm.
right?" And so I forwarded an email to Father Stephen from Keith, and I was like, "Hey, now that I have your attention, like, would you like to come on my channel?" And he agreed. Um, which was incredibly nice of him. And
Yeah.
so I was like, so I I didn't want it to be too dull, but I also didn't want to like he he doesn't like talking about controversial stuff. And
Huh.
so like he yeah, I like it would have been so I mean, I don't know. How much of the discussion did you listen to?
I'm not sure. Maybe half of it. I mean, maybe more than that. Probably more than that. I think I was there for most of it.
The
I had to
second
kind of
half
mute it for a
was a
second.
lot more actual back and forth discussion. The first half,
Yeah.
there was a lot of me like, the thing is, like, I have listened to his stuff. Like, I've listened to hundreds hours of his stuff, and he doesn't know anything about
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
So I was talking a lot, and I was kind of expecting him to like be like tell me where he disagrees, and he's like, "Well, is there a question in there?"
Yeah.
Like,
I
well,
did hear him say
what do
that.
you think of all that? Right?
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and
Yeah.
eventually it loosened up. Yeah,
Yeah. It felt kind of like he was a little bit prepared for debate and kind of had his ducks in a row
his
or
guard
something.
up. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
which is understandable. Well, and I tried to be nice, like nicer
Yeah.
than I usually am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He didn't seem like he was. Yeah, like he was kind of, I don't know, I felt like he was kind of testing the waters and he wasn't really, uh, which is totally understandable, but didn't really seem like he was kind of in a place where he was going to explore any ideas or anything. Like he had his answers, he knew what he was going to say, and yeah.
Well, that's kind of what being a Reformed Baptist is about. I mean, it's not like I'm going to convince him differently. Like, he
Yeah.
believes the stuff that his church believes. And I thought actually it was very important to kind of point out, okay, he's been a member of the same church his entire life, right? So he's
Mhm.
not, and he's the pastor of that church. And it's not like I'm suddenly going to say something like, oh, like this doesn't make sense. And he's going to be like, you know what? You're absolutely right. Penal substitutionary atonement doesn't make sense. I'm not going to be a Reformed Baptist anymore. Like, that's not going to happen.
Yeah. That's a lot to ask of him. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised with your when you I mean I hardly caught any of this conversation. Was it last night where you were on was it Father Eric's stream?
Yeah.
And you brought up the thing I mentioned about Jesus possibly being born again. I was kind of surprised by his answer where he was like, I'm not really focusing on that, but I'm not, if that happens, it happens.
So, okay,
He was
that's the
more
thing.
open to it than I thought.
I think I think Catholics and Eastern Orthodox, like, they don't they're a lot more willing to talk about things openly
Yeah. Hmm.
because like their religion isn't as focused on you have to believe the exact same things everybody else believes, right? So
Yeah.
for example, Father Eric says he thinks the monarchical trinity, it makes more sense with the liturgy than the egalitarian trinity, and he doesn't think that that's a problem for a Catholic. And apparently his bishop doesn't think it's a problem that Father Eric thinks that. And I mean, it's not like the Catholic Church is on a huge thing to like weed out heretics, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it's not like he's going to get in trouble with anything like that. Whereas, well, if Keith were to say something on my channel, like, yeah, penal substitutionary atonement doesn't make any sense, right?
Yeah. Uh-huh. He can't say that. Yeah.
He might get into trouble. People would be like, oh, well, do you not believe in it? Right? And I think
Yeah.
you could get away with saying, well, I believe in it because that's what the church teaches, but it doesn't make sense to me. I think that's okay for Protestants to say.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of them, I guess, probably say that. I don't know. It's hard to get anybody to go into detail and just describe those things. Uh, Especially with, I mean, well, penal substitution, I feel like they can get into more of the nitty-gritty on it a little more than the Trinity. But I feel like just a lot of Christians in general, if you start bringing up the Trinity, it seems like all these weird acrobatics to try to make it make sense or something. And it's just, I don't know, it's a mess.
I have a lot more respect for somebody who says, yeah, the Trinity makes no sense. I believe it because the church told me to, than somebody
Yeah,
who's like, although, I mean, I've also met people who like, I mean, I haven't met people, but like Jordan Hall was like, "Oh yeah, the Trinity's why I became a Christian." I was like, "What?"
yeah, I haven't, he's really, really hard for me to listen to just because the language he uses is, I don't have a great vocabulary. And so when I try to listen to him, I'm like, I know he's explaining things, but it's in a way that I can't track with him at all. I'm just like, man, I have no idea what he's saying.
The thing is, unlike most people who do that, it's not like he's misusing words or unnecessarily. Usually, I don't think I would say he's unnecessarily using really
Yeah.
complicated words.
Uh-huh.
Um,
Yeah, I mean, I don't get the vibe that he's doing that either, or that he's intentionally overcomplicating it. It's just that for for people like me, I like it's just a bunch of stuff that I can't keep up with, and I don't think he's meaning to like kind of alienate people by using this language that people can understand. I just can't track with the guy, but So like I have no idea what he says about the Trinity. I'm like, I don't know if I would agree or disagree because I don't know what he's saying. But
He went on Sam Tiedemann's channel and
yeah, okay.
they discussed it.
hmm He was also on Jordan Peterson's channel not too long ago,
Um,
right?
I I it's possible. I haven't watched any Peterson content for a while.
I hardly keep up with it either, but I think I saw it was him and Jordan Hall and John Vervaeke had a conversation. And so I
Hmm.
clicked on it and then I don't think I've ever finished it, but I'm pretty sure they talked. And then I recently listened to another Jordan Peterson one that was about something about ancient stories. And I actually liked that one quite a bit too. I thought that was pretty interesting. But other than that, I hardly click on any of his stuff anymore because it just, I don't know. The titles don't really grab me all that time. I don't know.
So the discussion with Sam,
Yeah.
I mean, I thought it was a good discussion. And I kind of sort of understood um what he was saying, but I don't think he was making like any good points about why you necessarily wouldn't have to believe that in addition to like he was making a good argument for one and many, but not one and three. And that
Yeah.
was my main thing, which
I
is
don't know. Yeah, I don't know if there is a good argument for one and three. I mean, I get, I don't know. I guess I go back and forth on this a lot because I feel like it's the same thing, even with Jesus, where you were just talking to Keith and he made the point about how Christ distinctly says that he's basically the Son of God. And it's like there's a part of me where it's like, okay, I feel like there's a particularity to the Spirit of God that Christ is pointing at. So I
mhm.
think there is something specific that's happening, but at the same time, Jesus is so broad where he's like, he gives that parable at the end. They're like, "When did we see you, Lord?" And he's like, "In the least of these, my brethren." So it's like, so I kind of feel the same way about the Trinity too. Like it's almost like there is this weird specificity to it where you can almost narrow it down to the number three or something like that. But then it's more so about the multiplicity. And I guess the reason I go back and forth on it is just because like I don't know, just focusing in on it, it just seems like there's a monad that's split into two, and then how did the two become one again? And it's like so there's just like this spirit that unifies them, but that unifies all creation together, and that's something like God, or I don't know. I don't know if that makes any sense. So I just kind of it's weird. I don't really want to throw away and say it's just about the multiplicity. Um, I don't want to do that completely yet, but I do think that makes a lot more sense. And I think just honestly, at this point, the term and just all the doctrine and ideas around the Trinity are almost just too problematic to even deal with.
I agree
Like,
with
yeah, I'm just like, we should just probably shut up about it at this point because if it can't be simple, if it can't just be something simple that people aren't going to kill themselves over, then like it's not even worth talking about.
I definitely agree with you. 100%.
Thanks. Thanks. I appreciate that.
Christians should just stop talking about the Trinity.
I think so too. I really do.
What are you surprised I agree with that?
No, no, not at all. It is. I mean, it's kind of frustrating too, because like I feel like a lot of the conversations, if there wasn't, they weren't so hung up on it, or if it wasn't this like crucial doctrine that you had to hold to, then we could talk to Muslims easier too. Like it seems like that's one of the main issues and the main arguments that keeps happening over and over. It's like stuff about the Trinity, and then all these Muslims just tear these Christians to shreds because they know the Christian Bible so much better than Christians do. It's crazy. I don't know. I would wonder what have you ever heard what Father Eric has said about Unitarians, where like the Catholicism is on that? Is it kind of
Well, I mean, I think they're the like. I don't know if they would baptize you if you deny the Trinity. I don't know.
yeah?
But like
Have
if
you
you're
ever?
already baptized, I don't know that they're gonna kick you out.
Gotcha. Yeah. Do you know if he's ever talked to Sam before?
Oh yeah.
Okay. I don't know if I've ever seen that conversation.
I mean, way back, it was most like Father Eric, me, and Sam were kind of the three musketeers.
Oh, nice. The Three Musketeers.
Well, we
What a
we
great
we were
combo.
like the three YouTubers.
Gotcha. Yeah. Yeah, I do remember when that was, yeah, when that was a little more prominent. Now everybody's, not everybody, but a lot of people, more people have their channel.
And
Speaking
it's
of, what, go
I
ahead.
don't know, the Catholics and the Eastern Orthodox mostly seem to have kind of like I think TLC is becoming increasingly just Protestant.
Really?
I think so.
You might be right. I don't know. I keep up with like certain YouTube channels now. I'm not ever in the Discord at all anymore. And even Paul's videos I don't keep up with too much. Like maybe on what is it, the Friday streams I might tune in for a little bit, but other than that, I don't really follow a whole lot, so I'm not even sure what is, I guess, going on in the TLC or what even the TLC kind of consists of anymore.
Yeah,
But
there was a weird spat going on that kind of spilled onto my channel for a little bit. And I kind of went on chat and started talking to people just to kind of make sure like I wasn't like I didn't I'm still not sure what exactly happened, but yeah, there was apparently somebody got kicked off Bridges of Meaning,
okay.
and there's a group of young Catholic guys who are getting into fights with basically everybody, but
Oh,
they're not like they're not Catholic enough to actually listen to Father Eric, which makes me be like, it's not the problem isn't that they're Catholic. The problem is they're young and stupid. But
gotcha. So they're kind of like Ortho Bros, but Catholic. What is that, Tradcast or something? What's isn't that
yeah,
the
I think so. That's been my impression of them. Although
yeah.
um whenever I say anything, they just call me a sophist and then get
What
mad.
what does that mean? I don't even know what
Well,
that means.
sophist has a meaning, but they just call everybody a sophist. Like they just use the word sophist as a like I don't think they know what a word sophist is. Like anything you say that they don't like, it suddenly becomes sophistry.
I don't even
Um,
know what that is. Is that what is sophistry?
so sophistry is philosophy for the sake of philosophy, where um you're just you're you're getting involved in rhetoric as opposed to actually dealing with the
Gotcha.
issue at hand. Here, let's see. What
So is
does
it kind of like an argument for the sake of heaven or something like that? Is that what they're
no,
called?
it's the use of fallacious arguments, especially with the intention of deceiving.
Oh, oh, the intention of deceiving.
In modern usage, sophism, sophists, and sophistry are used disparagingly. Yes, they are. A
Oh,
sophism or sophistry is a fallacious argument, especially one used deliberately to deceive. A sophist is a person who reasons with clever but fallacious and deceptive arguments. So basically, if they don't understand what you're saying, they'll call you a sophist.
Oh, well, that's nice. So you could probably just claim some anti-Semitism, right?
Sure.
Yeah. Maybe we shouldn't go around, I don't know, doing
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Okay, let's see what people are saying.
Yeah.
Jacob is the secret Orthodox hookup. It's not secret. I actually hook up people to the Orthodox Church a lot on a regular basis. Maybe penal substitutionary atonement is a necessary inference from total depravity. I think no. I think it's the other way around. I think total depravity is an excuse for talking about penal substitutionary atonement, but I think she's talking about the Trinity. Some statistics were really interesting. Sam's statistics were really interesting about the majority of church-going Christians not actually believing in the Trinity. Yep. Father Eric did mention that once, that the Catholic Church would not consider Sam to be a Christian. The easiest and fastest way to go to Mark L's version, just shut up and submit to authority, if you say so. These little cults are primarily the other little cults. They don't know what you're talking about. Young men reading too much philosophy. That happens. That does happen.
Yeah, what was that? Let me see if I can find that one. There was a it was the Jordan Peterson conversation I mentioned with the the guy where it was talking about the ancient stories and stuff like that. He mentioned it was this guy. I don't think he was Jewish. I don't know if I can't remember if he said he was or not. I think he might have had some Jewish ancestry or something. But he said that he discovered in Judaism there's an emphasis on the question. Like the question is almost more important than the answer. Um, let me see if I can find it. I don't know. I thought it was an interesting conversation, but that's what came to mind when you were talking about these Catholic guys who every time you would bring up a question or a sort of counter argument, they would just call you a name. Oops, I clicked on the wrong thing. Jonathan Pajot. Where's Peterson?
Peterson and Jordan Hall 3 weeks ago.
Let's see. The Man's Quest for the Infinite. That's the one I was talking about. Ancient Stories.
Man's Quest for the Infinite.
Yeah, I liked that one. And then
Who,
the Jordan Hall one, and yeah, I never finished that. I only got halfway through. But
who's the guest on Man's Quest for the Infinite?
let me see. Hopefully it won't start. Hopefully it won't do any noise when I click it. Okay, it's muted. Sorry, it's Jacob Howland.
I don't know who Jacob Howland is.
He seemed like a nice guy. The other thing, the one with Vervaeke and Jordan Hall, that one, it was just the way they did the seating arrangement was so bothersome to me. Like they had Peterson on one side and then Jordan Hall and like Vervaeke crammed on the other side where it just like they were just too close to each other. They should have like put them more in a circle or something. It just
Okay.
looked awkward. It looked awkward to me the whole time. That's all. It's probably just me.
So this Jacob Howland guy is an author, professor, and dean of intellectual foundations at University of Austin.
Oh, okay. Yeah. He mentioned what's that guy? I'm gonna Google the name real quick, but I still won't be able to pronounce it right. It's Jorge Luis Borges. How you
Borges.
say it?
It's
Borges?
Borges. Yeah.
Borges. Yeah. That he mentioned him a few times on there too. Have you ever read any of his stuff?
Yeah, in Spanish.
Did you like it? What were your thoughts?
I mean, I had to read it for my advanced Spanish courses, and there are lots of people who like him, and he's not bad, but Actually, I think you might really like him. It's I read his short stories, and they're very strange and surreal.
Yeah,
Um,
I've read Blue Tigers and I loved Blue Tigers, and that one I thought was amazing. Although they're always yeah, his short stories always feel like they're right on the edge of me understanding them. Like I'm like I feel like I can almost get what this is about, but it still kind of eludes me. But then there's one that has just plagued me and Mitch for the longest time. It's called The Disc, and it's super short. Like we could read it here in probably like 10 minutes. And I think it's like 3 pages long, maybe. But I'm like, I have no idea what's going on in the story. It's about Odin's disc or something like that. But
yeah, I mean, that's basically Borges always, and the stories can be interesting. It's just, yeah, I don't know. It I don't feel like I ever walked away from a Borges story with a new idea as much as like maybe deeply having considered like the concept of infinity more and better. I mean, I was
yeah,
also in high school when I was reading this, so it's
that's
been
kind of what he talks about in there. He says something like um uh, that guy Jorge was interested. His writings seemed to him to be interested in mankind's affliction with infinity or something like that. I think he used the word affliction. Like almost like I think there was one story he mentioned, which I haven't read it, where a guy accidentally drinks from the fountain of youth and then has to spend the rest of his life like searching for the fountain that will make him die because he doesn't want to like actually live forever. So like kind
yeah,
of exploring more of those ideas.
yeah. I think Borges very much was like obsessed with the idea of infinity.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know. The disc one though, that one, I don't know what's going on. It is strange.
Yeah. So apparently, this Jacob Howland guy wrote a book, Plato and the Talmud.
Oh, sounds interesting. Yeah, he was comparing. He said that when he read the Talmud, it reminded him of like I think some of Plato's. Well, the dialogue part was I don't know the way. Yeah.
My next book was Plato and the Talmud. I have always been interested in Jewish thought and Jewish history. I've taught courses on philosophical and theological approaches to the Holocaust, published articles on Primo Levi, not sure who that is, John Amory, not sure who that is, Cloud Lantzmann, also not sure who that is, and edited the memoir of a refugee from Nazi occupied Poland, A Long Way Home, the story of a Jewish youth, 1939 to 1948, by Bob Golan. I also am not sure who that is. In 1998, I began meeting weekly with a group of men to study the Talmud, the rabbinic text that reinvented Judaism after the destruction of the Second Temple. uh-huh. In 70 CE, as soon as I began to read the Talmud, I was struck by its dialectical character and its open minded conversational form. I noticed that it proposes many more questions than answers. This is true. And gives voice to various and frequently incompatible intellectual and moral perceptions. Correct. Frequently in the form of Agadah, narrative about the rabbis. The Talmud thus compels readers to assume primary responsibility for their answers to its most fundamental questions. How should one live? In these ways, I realized the Talmud closely resembles the Platonic dialogues. I was encouraged by Jacob Neusner and the theologian Irving Greenberg to write a book comparing the texts, and I prepared for this project by convincing our university administration to hire a professor of Hebrew and then auditing her 2-year course. This was an admittedly modest beginning that nonetheless served my purposes and even helped me to decode some of the Aramaic of the Gemara. Well, I mean, he knows more about the Talmud than most of the people who talk about the Talmud.
Well, I thought it was kind of interesting, but where is Father Stephen anyway? I probably got to hop off here pretty soon. We
He's
need to bait him on.
probably doing his taxes. Although, if he hasn't turned his taxes in already, he's late. Isn't
on the
it
East Coast?
midnight already in Washington D.C.?
Yeah, it would be. Yeah, it would be
I think
12:30.
so.
Yeah. Uh-oh.
Yes, Colonimus, that was exactly my feeling. Reinvented Judaism. There's certainly people who believe that. I not being one of them.
Well, I probably should hop off here. I gotta get some more work done.
Go do
I can
work.
sleep. I can sleep. And...
Good
All
night,
right.
Rebecca.
She's already asleep. She went to sleep like an hour
Oh.
and a half ago. Yeah.
Oh, I thought she was saying goodbye. Okay. I'll probably hop off too.
All right. It was great talking to you.
Later. Don't be a stranger.
All right. I won't. Check your mail.
Yes, sir.
All right. I'll see you. Bye.
יואב, חג שמח.
חג שמח.
מה שלומך?
נהנה מהחופש, יש לי כל השבוע חופש.
או וואו. מה עושה?
לא עושה הרבה.
טיולים או לא?
השנה לא, דרך כלל זה זמן לטיולים, השנה נשאר בבית.
אוקיי.
מתאמן בקלרינט.
Oh, wow. How long have you been playing the clarinet?
Some years. Not too many years.
Are you any good?
Well, I have this brother, and we are sort of split the world like Abraham and Lot. He goes right, I go left.
Okay.
And so we never did anything together. Just if I study physics, he will study chemistry.
Okay.
And he came to me some time ago, and he said, why won't we do something together? I mean, we are all getting to retirement age. It's time we've done something together. Why don't we, two of us, study the clarinet?
Together. Okay.
Now, he's a gifted musician, always has been. And he's playing other instruments in various orchestras.
Oh, wow.
I am absolutely devoid of any talent whatsoever. But why not, just to do something with my brother? I mean, because we do split the world. And the idea was, he's a man of action. So he got me a clarinet. He got me a teacher. And we fixed every week. We would meet at our mother's. Our mother is still alive. We'll meet at our mother's and have a lesson of clarinet with the teacher and play a little bit together. That will please our mother.
Yeah, she must love that.
Yeah. So that lasted for about 3 meetings.
Okay.
And then my brother said, well, I have my other obligations with my other instruments and my other things in life.
Mhm.
I will study the clarinet a little bit later.
Okay.
But you please go on.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, he said, well, there is this orchestra in a suburb in North Tel Aviv,
Mhm.
and my brother and his wife are playing there. Why don't you join us in the orchestra?
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah, very nice.
So classical music or what kind of music?
Brass band.
What band?
Brass band.
Brass band.
Yeah.
But clarinet isn't brass; it's woodwind.
Okay, so yeah, it's brass. There is the brass and clarinet sort of. It's brass, saxophone,
Okay.
clarinets. There is such a thing. I don't know how to call it.
Me neither.
Okay, but I just started to learn the clarinet. I was within my first year. Yes. Okay, how can I join an orchestra?
Yeah.
And he said, well, can you do 5 notes? Yeah, 5 notes I already know. Well, that will be enough. So we went to this one meeting with the orchestra, and they were very welcoming.
Mhm.
And they said, well, are you going to go on? I said, yes, why not? But then I noticed that the commute time was about 2 hours
Oh wow.
going out of Tel Aviv into Tel Aviv. It wasn't practical.
Mhm.
So my brother said, I also play in this other orchestra. It's in another suburb in the south of Tel Aviv.
Okay.
And that is more convenient to me because I work in the south of Tel Aviv. So after work, I can join the orchestra.
Okay.
Okay. So I joined the orchestra.
Mhm.
And I'm sitting there for the first meeting and I'm just overwhelmed. I just don't know what to do.
Play your 5 notes.
Yeah, but first you have to play in the right sequence, in the right time.
Oh shoot.
Yes. At this level, they don't really mind if you play the wrong note, but it has to be in the right time. Okay. So I sort of stumble my way. I mean, it's just, a rehearsal of an orchestra. I mean, it's a volunteer orchestra. If I make a mix, I make a mix. People are nice. They don't mind me so much.
Yeah.
And then they say, at the end of the year, we have this concert. We are obliged because we get this space and the support from the municipality. We have to give this concert twice a year.
Okay.
So, of course, you're going to join us in the concert.
Right.
I'm still within my first year of studying.
It's perfect. I love it. That's why they give you the permission, is so that they can come and laugh when you're trying to play.
Okay, so I find myself in the big hall. I mean, it's a substantial concert hall,
right,
of a distinguished municipality somewhere near Tel Aviv.
Right.
Packed with a paying ticket paying audience
Right.
on the stage. and I do my best. And then my brother says, "Well, I had enough of this orchestra."
Okay.
So then I am stuck in this orchestra
Uh-huh.
for years now. My brother is not with me. We haven't played together in a long time, if at all.
Uh-huh.
And I'm stuck with this clarinet in hand.
I love your brother.
Yes, I do. That's not the end of the story. Now, my brother and his wife were playing the tuba in the orchestra.
Okay.
And when they sort of left without any proper notice,
Right.
they left the orchestra with missing the bass notes. Okay? We have a lot of clarinets in the orchestra, but we were missing some the lower notes. Meanwhile,
Right.
my wife doesn't like the sound of the clarinet. It's whiny, it's screamy. She's being an angel and letting me practice sometimes, but
Right.
it's a burden on the marriage life.
Okay.
So when I visit the shop to buy a new clarinet, because I had to upgrade my clarinet from a beginner's one to a less of a beginner's one, I noticed there is such a thing as a bass clarinet.
Yeah. I was wondering about that.
Yeah. So here and there I get the bass clarinet.
Uh-huh.
And I start practicing on the bass clarinet.
Very nice.
Same time frame, I quit using a teacher. I only used the teacher for a very short while.
Okay.
Because I'm close to retirement age. Getting taught by the teacher, and you have to do those exercises, and these are your homework for tomorrow. And why haven't you done your homework and you're doing lousy? It's not not suitable for my age.
Right.
So, and I mean, either I'm going to go on by myself, and I will get where I get. If I don't get it, never mind, and I will not have a career as a clarinet player. So I quit learning formally, and I just teach myself to play the bass clarinet. And when I get to my basic capability of playing 5 notes, I reveal the truth to the conductor of our orchestra.
Very nice.
And he said, "Oh, by all means, do swap. I'm missing some bass notes."
Okay.
So now I'm feeling a more
useful
role in the orchestra.
Beautiful.
Extremely beautiful, yeah. And that will give me something to feel sometime in my retirement, which is looming closer and closer every day. Didn't find any other hobby or
So
something.
do your kids come to your concerts?
Why?
Have you told them about your concerts?
Oh yes, I'm telling everybody.
Okay.
Of course, there are videos on YouTube, but
There are videos on YouTube and you haven't put them on my Discord?
for a reason, yes. Yeah, they are aware of my talents, yes. But my kids are also, they're inherent the musical talent for my wife and I. My wife is as anti-music as you can possibly be. I mean, we don't have a stereo set in the house. Never had. We never play any music in the house. She's a great appreciator of silence.
Okay.
Which is good.
I'm guessing she prefers the basso clarinets to the regular clarinet.
Yeah, yes. And it helps that we have a large apartment, and she could be in the north room, I can be in the south room, and be, for an hour or two it will be bearable.
And worst comes to worst, you'll have to go practice in the bomb shelter.
Yeah, it's an idea actually.
Yeah, Hakadosh Baruch Hu, like he knows what he's doing. That when my nephew decided he wanted to play the drums, right? It would have been nice if we had.
Yeah. So there are two benefits in living in the Holy Land. First, you always have a shelter, and the second, the weather is always nice. So my first week of attempting to squill the clarinet was way outdoor in the fields.
You know, when I was in Jerusalem, it snowed, and for the guys who were from Los Angeles, it was a big deal. We barely ever see snow, so we were out there playing in the snow and throwing snowballs and stuff. And everybody from New York and New Jersey and other places was like looking at us like, "This is barely any snow. Why are you so excited?"
Yeah, this was something. I mean, when we were kids and it would snow in Jerusalem, then parents will take me off school and we drive specially to
Really?
so the kids will see some snow.
Huh.
Yeah.
Okay. Very nice. Very nice.
Okay, to the matter at hand, you had a meeting with a nice pastor.
Pastor Foskey, yes.
Yes, and that was 5 o'clock in the middle of the night.
Mhm.
Wasn't very alert. One metaphor really caught my ear.
Yeah.
That of the judgment day, when you and I and Jesus are standing for judgment.
Mhm.
Why is it? First of all, my first suggestion was just to strike it down and ignore it, because sometimes metaphors are not helpful and not useful and should be ignored. So my first suggestion is to ignore it.
Mhm.
Also ignore any conclusions that are coming out of it.
Right.
But if you accept it, and say that you and I are standing in judgment and there is some distance between us, let's say 1 unit of distance.
Right.
How far will Jesus be standing? Will he be standing 1,000 units, 1,000,000 units? Mathematically, it becomes very, very important. You really quickly get to a conclusion that Jesus is actually not in the room in any meaningful way, and the whole metaphor collapses. And
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot wrong with that entire penal substitutionary, and there's a reason for, like, okay, so there's a reason why the vast majority of Christians don't believe this stuff. And growing up in the United States, I thought that's what most Christians believed in. And then I found out, no, it's just the Protestants. And that makes a huge difference.
and there is another problem, is if it's a court of judgment, which side is Jesus standing on? Yeah, I mean, do you have one person of God judging another person of God? I don't want to comment on that, but I found the metaphor difficult and should be better. Both sides should ignore it.
Look, when it comes down to it, he was describing penal substitutionary atonement, which is what a majority of Protestants believe. But Protestants aren't a majority of Christians, and they are certainly not a majority of Christians over time. I mean, if Father Stephen were to jump on, he would be like, "Yeah, you're absolutely right. It makes no sense."
Okay, so my metaphor
Yeah.
has always been Jacob's ladder.
Mm-hmm.
I'm on the one end of the ladder, here on the ground, and whoever is on the other side, call it Jesus or not, doesn't matter for the metaphor, is on the other side of the ladder.
Yeah.
And the ladder is first infinite and second countable. And since it's countable, I can start climbing on it.
Okay. I mean, okay, so here, I am going to pull up Jewish liturgy. And in the Jewish liturgy, we have Selichot. I know that you'll have to forgive me. I know the Selichot of the Sephardic people, right? And so it starts with Ashrei, Psalm 145. And after Kaddish, it says, Ben Adam malacha nirdam, kum kra betachanunim, shvoch sicha drosh selicha, ma'adon ha'adonim, rachatz utahar, ba'al ta'achar, beterem yamim ponim. Right? And it says, L'cha Hashem hatzedakah velanu borshet hapanim, right? We don't stand before God in like and declare ourselves. Did I show this? Yeah, I am. Like it says, "Man nedaber uman itztadak," right? We don't. This idea of tziduk hadin, right, is not really a thing. Like L'cha Hashem l'hatzedakah v'lanu boshet hapanim. And that's why when he asked me, like, by what are you justified? I'm not justified. I'm not justified. What made you imagine you can be justified before God?
Yeah, this is how the clarinet story becomes relevant. No, I do not know how to play the clarinet. I will never know how to play the clarinet. But this is me. This is a clarinet, and this is.
Yeah.
What can I do except play the clarinet? I mean, quitting will not make me play any better.
Yeah. Haneshama lach va'guf pa'alach. Tzur asher ein domeh lach chusa al amalach. Like, Hashem aseh laman shemecha, right? It's not. It's all here. Like this is the. I don't know what to tell you. Like when Christians ask me, and this actually happened to me once, right? So I went there. One of the famous churches was near my work, And I went, and they said, "Oh, we have classes," right? I watch their videos all the time. So I'm like, okay, I'll go sign up for their classes. So I went to sign up for their classes, and they started asking me a bunch of questions. And I said, I'm not going to join your church. I just wanted to sit on the classes. They're like, oh, okay, here. So like, they had me signing up forms. Okay, I'm filling out the forms, and it asks, "Is Jesus your savior?" No, Jesus is not my savior. No. And then they're asking me questions. I told them, I'm not going to join your church. And the guy, very nice young man, sits down with me, and he's like, if you were to die tonight, and Jesus asked you, why should I let you into heaven? What would you say? And I didn't have the answer that John Van Donk later gave me, which was better than any answer I could have given, which was, if you don't know, what I'm certainly not going to tell you, right? It's like the idea that like I have an answer to this question. I don't get it. Like, why Christians think they'll have an answer to it. Like when God asks you the questions, right? We have this question, this whole thing of like, what there are questions HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to ask you on Yom Hadin, right? He's going to ask you, Tzipita LeYeshua. He's going to ask you if you wanted to know the Nistarot. He's going to ask you all these questions, right? Never in my mind or was there, oh, I'm going to actually have to give an answer as well. Like, it's not like Hashem is asking you questions he doesn't know the answers to. And this is the thing, like Christians actually seem to think that the questions you get asked on Yom Hadin, you should have answers to, which eludes me.
I will go further. I'll be shocked if on that place and occasion language will be used. I think it goes way beyond. I mean, we always talk about the 4 ways of knowing.
Right.
If you're there and you're participating in there, language is language is when you're just starting to play the clarinet. Language is for the beginners.
So, have you heard of this segula? There's a segula that when you say at the end of the Amidah that you memorize a pasuk, which starts with the first letter of your name and ends with the last letter of your name. So if you look in Sidurim, a lot of them in the back will have a luach where you can look up pasukim, right, by the first letter and last letter of your name, right? And so there's many people who part of their custom, their thing is at the end of the Amidah, they will say, so for Yaakov, right? So Yanchad Beyom Sarah, and I always forget the last Yanchad Hashem Beyom Sarah, Yesagevcha. It's either Shem Elokei Yaakov or Elokei Yaakov, and it bothers me that I can never remember because that's supposed to be my pasuk, right? And I can never remember it, which makes me wonder, right? But that's supposed to be a segula that when Yom Hadin, you will remember your own name. What exactly that means? There's lots of drashas. You may have heard some of them, right? But it's like, okay, this is your pasuk, and you should memorize a pasuk so that on Yom Hadin you'll actually remember something to say, right? But it's like, the Jewish idea is very, very much like that. why would you even be able to speak in front of a Kadosh Baruch Hu? Like, what makes you think you'll be able to speak in front of Kadosh Baruch Hu?
Exactly, and more than that, it's not just that I am not able to speak. It's just that language is out of context there. You can talk about music. I mean, Tolkien was talking about music. If communication by some kind of divine music, I would understand it. But anyway, which language? Ancient Hebrew, modern Hebrew, Aramaic. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah, you're very, very Jewish, Yoav. You're very, very Jewish. You must have grown up very, very Haredi.
That is exactly I am. I do not do. That's exactly describes me exactly. Again, it's the four ways of knowing. I'm in the right place and participating in a grand action.
Yeah,
It's a form of knowing.
yeah. So that was what struck you most about the discussion.
Yes, I mean, as you say, it was probably because it was the first discussion. It was rather plain vanilla. So not too many chunks of meat to find in there. But I'm just, in my nature, I'm interested in distances. Whenever a situation arises, then I can start measuring distances, and it wakes me up.
Uh-huh. Okay.
You know, I'm a color engineer.
Yeah.
And we have this notion of a color space, a three-dimensional color space.
Mm-hmm.
And we've been trying for centuries to measure distances in that space. And it proves to be quite an impossible task. Even such a sort of down-to-earth spaces like color spaces,
Mm-hmm.
the idea of measuring space in measuring distance in some spaces is fickle. Because you have so many demands of distance. You want distance to be equal. You want the step to the right to be equal to the step to the left. And you want the step in one room to be equal to the step in another room. Yeah, lots of demands on the space, and some spaces just cannot stand that.
So what is a color space?
You gave a job to a printer,
Mm-hmm.
and he gave you a printed result.
Mm-hmm.
And you say, well, I'm not going to pay you because it's far from what I asked you. And the printer will say, well, it's very near what you asked me. I mean, you have to allow some tolerance, so it's very near.
Right.
You have to. There must be some kind of a way of this of deciding whether two colors are near or far.
Right.
And the measure has to be such that you can argue about the red colors in the picture, and you can have should apply the same argument to the green colors in the picture, while they are qualitatively different. So it's very practical, very important, and quite impossible. This is why I'm feeling qualified to deal with religion.
Yeah. So, okay, I have to ask you, when I first found this out, it absolutely blew my mind. But it's been a huge thing in my understanding of the world. So I always thought that the reason women wore more colorful clothing and men wore less colorful clothing. It was socially constructed, right? And I always, I mean, growing up, there was always the jokes about like women listening, like wanting taupe, and like men not knowing what taupe is. And then I read an article which went into the genetics and into the different types of rods in the eyes, and talked about how there are women who are super seers because there's the genes on the of the rods of the eyes are on the X chromosome, where there's not the leg of the Y chromosome. And so some women have more types of colors. They can see many, many more colors than it's physically possible for any man to ever see. And men are much more likely to be colorblind. Women are much more likely, and it just blew my mind.
Okay, it's all very true.
Yeah.
Is there any question that you want to ask me about it? It's true.
So how can you be a color engineer if there are women who can see more colors and you might not? I mean, first of all, you must be able to see more colors than a lot of men who are colorblind. That's for sure. Right?
Okay, that's a question. So, first comment that we are not talking about why people are dressing in colorful clothing or not. That's not the issue. The issue is about perception. True, what you said about the evolution of color vision.
Mm-hmm.
I may repeat it to make it more clear, but it's true. Somehow, even being completely colorblind doesn't stop people from going into the profession of color engineering. Some of the best color engineers in Israel,
Right.
I mean the top, let's say the top 3, are colorblind. More than one.
So not just you.
No, I don't happen to be colorblind.
Okay.
But somehow it is not a problem. One reason is that we have turned it into something very mathematical. We have defined the space and measures on the space. So now it's all about dealing with formula and mathematics. So if there is somebody who came from a background of physics and is very good in dealing with 10-dimensional spaces, going down to 3-dimensional space will be a piece of cake. And he's used to discussing things he cannot see. That's one answer. Another answer is, like anything in the world and like color science, we don't really know what we're talking about. It's not clear to what extent color blindness even exists. It seems that story that you read about rods and cones and whatever, it's true, but there's more to it. And the more to it is something we don't really understand yet. Because it boils down to a test. You give a person a test, and the person...
I've taken the test.
Yeah. And how did you pass?
I passed.
Good. Now, it's just a test. It's kind of like an IQ test. If you fail an IQ test, it doesn't mean that you're not a smart person, because there might be some other dimensions and aspects and whatever. So it turns out that even people who fail the test can perceive color in some other situations, and I cannot say more than that because it's really a place where science has not progressed yet. Another answer, again, my dear brother, is colorblind.
Okay.
And he's decided to do anything in the world that I have not done. So I am not a skipper of any boats. So he had to pass the exam to be a skipper.
Okay.
Among 10,000 other things he achieved in his life. I mean, if he comes before the judge at the end of the days and he starts talking and just describing what he has done, that conversation is not going to end in finite time. Okay. So he will. So, and a part of the test you have to be. I mean, there are red flags and green flags and red lights and green lights and whatever, and you have to pass an exam to be a skipper.
Right.
So he completely fails the test and he cannot be a skipper. So he demands a second chance.
Okay.
And he goes to the test again, and he passes it with flying colors because he memorized the whole test.
Sounds like your brother.
Yes. Okay. And now I'm going to retell the story that you have told me in more words, because language is cumbersome.
Yeah.
And I will take a fork. If you believe in young Earth, this is the story for you. When Eve gave the apple to Adam, he trusted her because already she knew the good fruit from the bad fruit because she could see a green color from a red color, and he couldn't. So he was quite naive about it. I mean, he was used to her picking up the apples and giving the apples to him. Doesn't mean that his sin was not great. This is, I think this piece of lore is from Jordan Peterson. And where Adam went wrong is you don't let your wife get near to a snake. No man should ever get his wife to a conversation distance from a snake.
Okay.
The color of the apple doesn't matter after that.
Right.
Okay. So if you believe in old Earth, then the story goes as follows. We started as fish and we upgraded to lizards. And then we had excellent color vision. We could see 5 or 7 or 10 colors or different, whatever. Excellent color vision because we evolved it over millions of years. Okay? And then a catastrophe has happened and the dinosaurs appeared. And the dinosaurs ruled the earth. And our poor forefathers were reduced to living in caves and burrows and only come out foraging at night. You don't need your color vision at night.
Okay.
By way of evolution, we lost it.
Okay.
And then another catastrophe happened and the dinosaur disappeared. Strange are the ways of the God. And we came out of the burrows and we came out to forage in the field. And then we climbed on the trees and started picking fruit. And color vision has become important again. So we evolved. First, we couldn't distinguish between red and green. And later, we can distinguish between those and blue. But this evolution doesn't stop. So while most of us can still see 3 colors, the avant-garde, that people are in the forefront of evolution, can already see 4 colors. And what you said about the capability of generating the material that sees the color is in the X chromosome, and this is why the women have it double. So the way it happens that, let's say that you have a formula of making only one of those materials. So you're making a material that enables you to see, let's say, the red color. And you have 2 copies of it on 2 branches of the X chromosome.
Mm.
And then there is some kind of a mutation, and now you have 2 recipes. So you have red color and some other red color.
Right.
And then you can see already 2 colors. And that is if you're a woman. And there is another event in which the one copy jumps from one leg of the X chromosome to the other leg of the X chromosome, and then even men can see the 2 colors. By that time, women can already see 3 colors. And by the time men learn to see 3 colors, women start to see 4 colors.
Mm.
And that is going to go on and on and on until the end of days or until the reappearance of the dinosaurs.
Okay. I still wonder why, like, if women just tend to see more colors, why, like, either there should be like male art and female art, and I've never heard of such a thing, or women should be better artists than men, and that historically hasn't been the case. Or maybe female artists would have a different way. Like, it's a big deal to see the world differently. Like, you know what gets me the most is that we had jokes about women talking about off-white and taupe, right? I remember the jokes.
Okay, I will answer that. This is the tragedy of the unappreciated artist. If you're an artist that can see 4 colors, and you can and you paint a beautiful picture in your own eyes, who are you going to sell it to? An artist has to appeal to the average, because even if the buyer can see the 4 colors and the buyers hang it in the living room, the guests don't see it.
Wow.
You have to appeal to the average.
Wow. I didn't yeah. That's amazing. So there could be painters out there who are painting very, very beautiful, colorful things that, because most people can't even tell the difference between the various shades, they're just not appreciated.
No, yeah, true. Also, it is said to be the difference between men and women, that men are programmed to allow for the possibility of failure. If you go to have a career in art, you should expect to fail. Like if I leave my engineering profession and become a clarinet player, I should expect to fail. Like my wife, she paints nice watercolor picture and we hang them in the house. She would not make a career out of it. She would, first, because it will bring no money. Second, she would take a profession that is more like in the realm of caring for people. She would rather go somewhere where she can care for people than just being stuck in the house and being autistic about her painting.
Mhm. You know, it's weird in the Haredi community. It's the artists tend to be the females, but that's because the men tend, they're supposed to learn Torah, etc. So, like when, especially for ketubot, right? If you want to get a nice ketubah, pretty much all of the women, all of the artists who make beautiful ketubot, they tend to be women.
I did not know that.
Yeah. So if you want to buy a ketubah that has paintings and stuff like that, at least in the Haredi community, and especially now with, I mean, there's a lot more Hasidic art. It's women, but I think that's mostly because men are expected to be learning Torah. Like, yeah.
Now, to the comment, Yon God seems to be skeptic of my nice story.
Yeah.
So I will ask Yon God, is it true or not that the color receptors are coded on the X chromosome? I mean, this is a fact that is either true or not true. If it's not true, please let us know.
Don says, I'm showing color sample sheets to my husband today, pointing out the differences. And the look on his face is, these are all the same color. I mean, this is a known thing. Like women choosing the color for whatchamacallit? For the walls. Like, it's famous. But yeah. I do sort of explicitly go out of my way to look for women artists, since I do seem to get a different feel from it. Although I can't say if it is related to this, because I don't know if my eyes see more colors or not. No. How'd you get into being a color engineer? You were a physics major? What?
Okay. I was at a department at some technology giant.
Mm-hmm.
And my department was shut down because it was not our core business.
Okay.
And I was looking for an empty slot.
Okay.
And there was one. So I filled it. Okay, what is this slot that I filled? You're going to be our color expert.
What were you doing before? Like, what kind of background did you have? Computer programmer or what?
It's a long and boring story.
That's what we're here for.
But just this bit of a story. So I went to our chief scientist and asked him, this color thing, how do I do it? He said, not in so many words, but I'm not going to help you, young man. You live your own life.
Mm-hmm.
So I found a colleague who was a photographer by profession. And we had this first assignment. And I didn't know what to do, but he explained to me exactly what to do. He was plotting graphs on millimeter paper, and he said, you have to make this function, and this number has to go here, and that number has to go here. It was sort of really talking to me like a like an engineer, explaining the problem to me. So, okay, I know the problem, so I just had to code it into the computer, and I finished the task in 2 days.
Mm.
And my boss was very pleased. Oh, you're a very good color engineer. I haven't seen any such thing in my life. You're going to be a color engineer forever. And then the guy who helped me, the photographer, said, well, I'm doing all the work in this department. I want to have a raise. And I said, no, you cannot have a raise. You're just a photographer. We are giving the raises to the engineers because so he left.
Okay.
And then I had to sink or swim.
Uh-huh.
That was 1988. And
No internet yet.
No internet yet, and no real understanding of how you do those things. 1988, Apple didn't know how to do color. They just had this first Macintosh and the first color printer.
I remember it, yeah.
And they were trying to make the color on the printer look like the color on the Macintosh.
Right.
And they failed completely.
No Pantone colors yet.
No, Pantone existed, but you didn't know how to computerize the Pantones.
Mm.
So they formed a consortium, the International Color Consortium, the ICC. Have you heard of the ICC?
The International Criminal Court, I have. Yeah.
No. The International Color Consortium.
That's a different ICC.
And then that was the forum in which all the established printing companies of the generation taught Apple how to do color. Mm. And then, of course, Apple threw them away and took possession of the world. But I was there. I was there listening.
So when I was in undergrad, I was in journalism school, and my thing was I knew how to use the Quark Express and Adobe, right? So those were the publishing software that we used back then, and everything was on Apple, because even though some, like, you could get Adobe on Microsoft, it wasn't the same. It wasn't as good. It wasn't, and you ended up with different products, right? Like if you made a file on Adobe in on a Windows machine, you ended up with something different than on the whatchamacallit machine on an Apple. So there was a time when I remember I was working at the Los Angeles Daily News, and we had 2 computers, because we were putting things online, America Online at the time, not the internet, and we had to check, like, does it look good on each one? So that's my experience with color and computers. But that was 1997, 98. So it was all your fault. You're the one who came up with all that stuff?
I was just listening. But I am at fault. If I have to recount my sins,
yeah.
There were guys in the printing industry. First, it was letterpress, and then when black and white was computerized, the text was computerized with Quark, and then color was computerized. There were guys working there that I have pushed out of their job, also my career. I remember going one day to see a customer, and I was talking to a guy that was working on the color in publishing, and he told me, I was working in the black and white printing of of text, and you guys dropped me off a job, and now I'm working here in the color department. Please let me skip my job for a while. And I was there to take it away. So that is my great sin in life, and you pay for those sins. Even in this world, you pay for such sins. Because one day you're gonna be kicked out.
We all get old.
Yeah. Yeah, this is why I learned the clarinet.
My Dod Baruch, he lives in Beit Vegan, and he when he was good 40 years, he drove a car for Elite. He was a delivery driver, and he when he retired, he started taking mandolin classes. That was his big thing. He was going to retire and start taking mandolin classes. Yeah, Dod Baruch. He wanted me to come for Pesach. I considered it. I almost came, but it didn't happen. Yeah.
Okay, so one thing about color.
Yeah.
When you read any book, or if you get into the profession, then you get into deconstructive science. You say, okay, there is this thing is color, and the color is made of 3 dots, the blue dots, the red dot, and the green dot, and with the 3 dots, the red, the green, and the blue, you can make everything. It's extremely well deconstructed.
Yeah.
Actually, when you get to my age, you see that the perception cannot be deconstructed this way. It just cannot. It leads to fallacies. It leads to impossible situation, and you realize that it's much more to color perception than the construction. But then you are left with no tools to deal with it, and you just keep to the construction because it's convenient.
Like, what do you mean? Because, I mean, we use RGB a lot. I mean, we use CIMAC more, but that's still a deconstruction.
Well, yeah. The very idea that you can deconstruct perception is the fallacy. It's not that the construction or the other is wrong. It's the very idea that it's valid, because there is a brain in the way. I mean, it's all very simple. When the beginning of the story, you have photons and you have wavelengths, and that's very well understood. And then those hit the eyes, and you have those 3 or 4 receptors in the eye, and some chemistry going on, and that is very, very well understood. And then there is some first processing that happens in the eye when information is subtracted or added together, just very simple mathematical operations, also very well understood. And then it gets to the brain. And then you just lose control of the whole situation. What the brain makes of the information that it receives.
The famous blue dress, white dress, right?
Yes, I don't have. I mean, this is a good example, but there is such a better example that I should be showing, and I have no way of conjuring it at the moment. So some other discussion, I will have it ready.
Okay. It's not something I can find.
There is a better way of demonstrating that the very concept of color is invalid, but leave it for another day because it has to be shown.
Okay.
It's unbelievably goes in the face of everything you ever learned. Okay, I need to
It's
show it
even
some
beyond the dress.
I'm going to look for it. It will take me some time to.
It's okay. We've been going for 3 hours.
I have a week.
I don't have a week. Actually, Wednesdays are pretty busy for me, but I definitely have an hour. Will it take you more than an hour?
I'm trying to look if there's any good pictures. There are pictures. The term to search for is simultaneous contrast. And find it. I found it. Okay. I found it. Okay.
You should be able to show you can. Oops. You can click on the bottom. There's a display, present, and then share screen.
Okay, let's see. Present.
Share screen, and then you can choose the Chrome tab to present.
You're assuming using
Chrome, yeah.
Okay, what do we see at the moment?
There it is.
Okay, this one.
Uh-huh.
So you have 3 colors here, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And what people should do is get their face close to the screen and then go way, like 5 meters away from the screen.
5 meters away, I can do that.
Yeah. Or zoom in, or zoom just zoom your screen, zoom in, zoom out. And you see that the color change significantly. If you're close to the screen, you see that the 2 reds are the same red.
Right.
If you zoom out, if it's small,
I
will try to do it simultaneously. Not very easy to control my zoom in on my computer. If you zoom out and it's becoming very small, then you see 2 different colors. The 2 reds become two different shades of red, and then it becomes really 2 different colors, like purple and orange.
Let me see if I can. I'm trying to see if I can make it small.
Yeah, it's very hard to control the zoom in some browsers.
Yeah.
So just look up simultaneous contrast and view it in your spare time.
I will do that.
Okay, so the theory is that the brain looks at the environment.
Mhm.
And the term simultaneous contrast seems that the perceived color depends on the environment. So your color is relative. So
Yeah.
if a red is against blue, it will be seen in one way, and if it's red is against yellow, it will be seen the other way. Because what brain cares about is the contrast between the color and the surround. That's the theory.
Yeah, those don't look like the same red to me.
So look close into the screen, put your face into the screen, you see the same red. Okay. Now, that was the theory. But in this particular picture, the
Right.
background on average is the same. So it's not that the brain averages the background. The brain looks at the pattern, and the brain says something, oh, this is behind this and this is after this. So the brain deduces the background and then performs the simultaneous contrast. But it's even deeper than that.
Mhm.
Bottom line, first, nobody can understand this well enough to quantify it.
Mhm.
So you cannot control it very well. So engineering is out of the question. And also, it breaks the basic. How do you start the lecture about color perception? About perception. When you start any lecture on perception, you say there are 4 types of perception. You can perceive color.
Mhm.
You can perceive transparency. That's a different thing.
Mhm.
You can perceive gloss, also a different thing. And you can perceive texture.
Okay.
And then the next paragraph is, today we are going to discuss color. And we leave out gloss, we leave out texture, we leave out transparency.
What's gross?
Gloss,
Oh, gloss. Okay.
as in glossy and matte.
Okay.
So you start the course and you say we're talking about color. Let's leave out texture. And then you deconstruct to red, green, and blue, whatever.
Mhm.
What I just showed you, that the basic deconstruction, separating color from texture, was already a fallacy.
Yeah.
So this is what I'm saying. Being a color engineer qualifies me for theology.
Yeah. No, it really helps you understand um, that perception. This was actually a surprise to me. So when I was a little kid, I was taking biology. I must have been 13, 14 maybe. And I was taking a biology class. And we had this chart, which was the cell with all of its parts. And we were supposed to go through our textbook, find the name of each cell part, and then we were supposed to find out what each cell part does and fill it in. So I was a chacham, and I knew that the encyclopedia had the cell with its parts and everything. And so instead of sitting there with my textbook and trying to find everything like my teacher wanted me to, I just opened up the encyclopedia set, and it was an old encyclopedia set we had bought in a garage sale. And I start filling in from the encyclopedia set. And we got to, I think it was Golgi bodies. I forget what exactly it was. But I start filling in from the encyclopedia set, and I think this doesn't make any sense. This is not what I remember. So I went back to the textbook and I find what it does. And here I'm sitting with an encyclopedia set and with my biology textbook, and one of them says one thing and the other one says another. And this has stayed with me for 30 years. Is I realized that it must be that when my encyclopedia set was written, they thought it is this. And when my textbook was written, they thought they did that. Now, it's not like in science class, they don't always tell you, like, oh, they thought like this, and then we learned, right? But it really hit me that I could be looking at my encyclopedia set and it could be telling me something different than my biology textbook, right? And it was many years later that I realized this realization evades a lot of people, right? The realization evades a lot of people, and when it hits you, it really changes how you see the world, and you become a lot more mature.
Okay. I have a message to Jon God. He was curious about receptors and not about blue.
Uh-huh.
And my message to Jon God is that blue reception in the eye do not exist. You cannot actually see blue. And long story is there is a density of the population of receptors. And the most the color receptors are concentrated in the eye.
Hello.
It's the boys. I don't know what they're doing, but they're here.
The boys. We're eating burritos.
And you didn't invite me? Oh, it's
We're too busy
Passover.
streaming. We saw you were
Yeah.
3 hours deep.
Yeah, you have plans.
I see. Were you guys actually listening? Because Yoav was teaching us all types of things about color.
Oh, a little bit.
Yeah.
You go off, Yoav.
Okay, there is a concentration of the color reception.
I am going to mute you guys for now. Go ahead, Yoav.
Concentration at the center of the eye, and whenever your attention at an object, you concentrated your part in the eye where there's a large concentration of color receptors, so you can see it better. Unfortunately, in that area, there are almost no blue detectors. The blue detectors are on the periphery when color vision is poor. So whenever you concentrate on something, you stop seeing the color blue. You just remember that it was there from before you looked. Proof of what I'm saying. If you write with a yellow pencil on white paper, if it's a thick crayon, you can see the yellow color. If it's a sharp pencil, you cannot read the text. If you're writing with dark blue pen on black paper, if it's a thick brush, you can see the blue color. If it's a sharp pen, you cannot see the blue text on black paper except for the gloss. So you can see the fact that the color is there, but you cannot see the details. So blue detectors practically do not exist.
Practically do not exist. Okay. So why do we Like, why is blue a primary color if it's so?
They are there on the periphery, where the vision is not acute. So you know that it's there, but you cannot make up the detail.
It's very funny that blue would be on the periphery. I'm just thinking Patil Techelet.
Okay.
True?
I wasn't thinking of that, but
It's true.
this is why we have a conversation. I need to learn new stuff.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, Trey is right. I've been spending way too much time streaming when I should be actually doing real life work.
I should be having my breakfast.
Breakfast is good. Do you do the Pesach stuff or not so much?
What Pesach stuff?
What do you do? What do you do for Pesach?
Oh, we
Spend
had
way too much time eating matzah?
no, we had a seder,
Okay.
and in some extended family, and I'm, for one, eating that matzot because I like them,
Mm.
and I will go on eating them until I finish the 2 boxes that I bought. And that will be around Shavuot.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Okay, gentlemen. I think I'm going to end this stream. I'm going to use host's prerogative to put the Reverend Parcells to bed because he does need to get up in the morning.
Sorry,
You are
Reverend. Thank
correct.
you.
But before he goes, I have a question. Let's say, God forbid, that I were to burn somebody at the stake for not being a Trinitarian. And I did not repent of that. Is that a salvation issue?
Sometimes Jacob takes
There's a
that devil's
proverb.
advocate thing too
Isn't there a
far.
proverb that says something like, "Don't answer a fool according to his folly."
But there's a proverb that says, answer a fool according to his folly.
There is. Exactly right. I'm going to leave it to you guys to determine, which of those was applicable in this situation as I go. So, but anyhow, good.
Thank
It was
you,
good
Reverend.
to good to
Thank
chat
you.
with you all.
Thank you.
Good night.
The